You're tuned in to Nerd Overload, your weekly pop and geek culture show covering movies, TV, games, and comics. Now your hosts, Cody Pinnick, Sam Dunham, and Josh Harrison.
Hey everybody, welcome to Nerd Overload, the pop and geek culture show that didn't have a new episode last week, but don't worry, we stayed in practice. We did one and just threw it away just to make sure we were on our game.
to keep on our toes,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
I'm Cody.
I'm Sam.
I'm Windows Update.
Oh no, get out. Get out of this house.
Ruined everything. And I'm Samantha.
We have a great show for you this week. Thank you all for tuning in. We have a bunch of news to go over, some of which that's going to sound pretty familiar to the four of us in this room. But first, let's talk about some things we've been checking out.
Check it out!
And it sounded correct, and it didn't sound like it was an octave lower and slower.
Yeah, the last episode, everything recorded a couple octaves lower than normal.
Yes, we all had very beefy, manly voices.
It was the most masculine I've ever sounded.
I should have saved a little bit of it just to drop in here. Yeah.
I tried to convince you to just do that to my voice all the time, but you said no.
Yeah, it's a little, yeah. All right. So, let's talk about some things we've been checking out. I'll do mine real quick. So, I watched the entirety of The Sandman, the Netflix series based off of the Neil Gaiman comic series. I had watched the first 3 episodes last week when we were doing it, but and at the time I thought that they only put out half of the season. It turns out, no, they put out all 10 episodes.
Oh.
So, I sat and watched all of it.
We watched the first one.
Yeah. So I've been trying to put into words how I feel about this series for the past almost 2 weeks. I think ultimately I recognize that it's a very well done show. I think the story is pretty compelling for the most part, and I think it's well done. I just don't think the show is for me.
Fair.
I can recognize that it's very well done, and for the people that who are into it are going to be way into it. And there were a couple episodes that I really, really dug. The first 2 or 3 episodes were fantastic. And there's one, I think it's episode 6, that is kind of a one-off story with... so I guess I should explain what the show is, basically. So Sandman is about this personification of basically dreaming. Basically, when you go to sleep, the world that you go to is a separate plane of existence, basically. And the person who resides over it is a guy named Dream, or Morpheus. He goes by both names. And in the first episode of the series, he gets trapped on Earth for 116 years, I believe, something like that. And in that time, his domain, the Dream domain, kind of falls apart, and he's, at least in the first couple episodes, is trying to put his everything back together. His realm back in order. So, and it as a concept, really cool. I dig it. There were a couple episodes that, really rubbed me the wrong way, which I believe is the point, because the show is not for everyone. It's not it's a comic book show, but it's not a superhero show. It's not
MCU flavored.
No, it is very serious and it deals with very challenging themes at certain points.
Do you feel like maybe it was a little heady to get made into like a moving visual?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, they do a very good job explaining what's going on, and if you're predisposed to the
comic,
well, not even the comic, but just like fantasy type storytelling, you pick it up pretty quick. They explain it, but there are, it's a very violent show.
Oh,
near the tail end of it, it gets
but they
exceedingly violent.
They are terrified to show Ding Dong, though.
They are, yeah. That's the one thing they don't do.
Yeah. To the point where in one scene it just seemed silly. It seemed like he was physically covering himself on purpose. I don't know, out of
it was almost like
embarrassment.
it was almost like a cartoon. Like the cartoons just happened to be hiding behind strategically placed like whatever.
It was like Metal Gear 2 when you're riding and he's running around holding himself so you can't see his business.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I forgot
about that. Yeah, but there's an episode, I think it's episode 5, that takes place for the most part in a 24-hour diner. And one of the
it's like the Seinfeld episode that takes place inside of a Chinese restaurant the whole time.
When George wanted to use the phone, he's waiting on a call.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like that if it devolves into some of the grossest and, like, again, very challenging concepts that, boy, I have stuck with me. And boy, I don't.
So it made you really uncomfortable.
Incredibly. This episode in particular, there's a character named John D. He's a minor villain in the show. He's actually in the comics. So the show strips out every reference to mainstream comics because early on in the Sandman comic, it crossed over with the DC comics.
They were published by the same company.
It was before Vertigo. This was what led into the Vertigo imprint because Sandman was so extreme. But in those first couple of issues, I mean, he visits the Martian Manhunter at his home. There's a character in this show named John D. who gains control of Dream's kind of amulet that gives him the ability to bend reality to his will. And in the comics, he is Dr. Destiny. In the show, they've stripped out all that. There's an episode, I think episode 4 in the comics, Etrigan.
The demon.
The demon.
Jason Blood.
Yeah. He shows up, and in this one, he's still a rhyming monster, but he's not Etrigan. Like I said, they take out all of the references to other stuff.
They're saving him for his own movie.
Well, there you go. But in this episode...
Jared Leto is Etrigan.
Do not.
Don't put that juju out in the universe. Don't do it.
I like the Arthurian DC stuff.
Yeah.
Do not.
Yeah. But this episode in particular that really kind of stuck with me and really it was well done. I didn't like it because it made me feel so uncomfortable. Basically, John D shows up at this 24-hour diner and there are 5 people in this diner that he basically just kind of plays with. Takes away their ability to lie and turns their inhibitions up to 100 and then turns their violent tendencies up to 100 and does all this stuff, and things come out about all of these characters that is hard to watch and hard to listen to, and it's not as extreme as the comic, because I went back and read the comic because I was like, what is this? What is this based on? The comic is worse, but I think it hits harder in live action because it is real people doing this and not just a drawing on a page. Tough to watch. If I ever go back to this show, I don't think I'm going to go back to this show. I'm glad I watched it. I wouldn't recommend it to very many people. I don't think I'd go back to it. But if I do, I absolutely would skip episode 5 every time I watch it from now on, because it was some of the most uncomfortable television I've watched in a very long time. But then episode 6 is the best one, in my opinion. It's the one that introduces his sister, who is essentially the Grim Reaper. But a very cheery, like very friendly face, and her whole deal is, people when they die, they don't want to see a skull-faced man showing up and scaring them half to death. They want someone to be there with them and say that, you're not alone, and that's okay. And it's a really good character piece for the main characters. But that episode 5, man, I can't. Nope, can't. Nope.
Man, you're putting it in my head. Maybe I don't want to watch the show.
My mom watched the whole series and she didn't say anything about it. And
said
it was pretty good, and she would give it a B.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'd also give it a B. The back half of the series, when it kind of gets more of a plot, kind of falters a little bit. It's not as strong as those first couple episodes. And like I said,
because those are the ones that got to suck you in,
right? But the first couple 2-3 episodes were excellent. They were really, really well done.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff that particularly was tuned into things that I thought were cool.
Yeah,
like I don't know, an old English man who thinks he's a wizard but he's bad at it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
A cool Crow familiar?
Sure. Yeah. Oh,
I
fun
mean,
fact, that Crow character, he mentions it's played by Patton Oswalt, or the Crow that shows up later. He mentions that he was a human before being turned into a crow and being a familiar for Morpheus. And that character is from Swamp Thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I always forget, like, you're a real big DC guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's an episode that deals with the one other thing they did with the show that I kind of like a lot. A lot of people have been down on it a bit. Is they changed ethnicity and gender of a handful of characters.
Okay, but some of those characters are
concepts and not really people.
Yeah, they're not really people.
Yeah, but people are upset that they turned Death, who in the DC universe has primarily been a pale goth girl. They made her black in this series, but did nothing to change the character, like her interpretation whatsoever. So she works exactly the same, and she works really, really well.
We need to stop giving these people like the time of day.
I agree.
They get upset about this crap because it's so pointless.
No, I agree. I agree.
I saw a post that Cartoon Network posted on Facebook that was just a bunch of fan art, and they drew Chowder as black, and somebody's like, "Why is Chowder black?" It's like, why not?
Chowder
it doesn't matter. He's
a cartoon. Who cares?
Chowder is a purple cat boy.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, it could be anything you want.
Yeah,
but yeah. So they changed the gender of, or they changed the race of Death. They changed the gender of Dreams, Major Domo, like the second in command, Lucien, on the show from that first episode. In the comic, it's a guy named Lucien. And John Constantine, who was a major DC Comics like magic,
the Ripper.
Yeah, basically a magic guy.
That's his nickname, the Ripper.
Yeah, the Ripper. Yeah, they made him a woman in this, and I believe that was actually partially because they don't have the rights to John Constantine right now.
Well, yeah, because
it's tied up with the CW.
Yeah, CW's got that,
and also in the comics and in the show, you get a flashback to like the 1800s where he runs into John Constantine's descendant, like ancestor, Lady Joanna Constantine, and they decided, well, instead of having two actors for one scene in two different episodes, we'll just make it the same actress.
So Jenna Coleman plays them both.
She plays them both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Same kind of stuff that she would do in a Doctor Who episode,
it's basically,
more or less.
Yeah, basically, and her episode is fantastic as well. I think that's like the second or third episode.
Oh man,
really, really well done. But ultimately, if you don't have a weak constitution, if you don't mind copious violence and very difficult concepts to swallow in one particular episode,
you keep dancing around it, and I think I know exactly what you're talking.
There's some
about.
weird stuff. There's some weird stuff. If you're into that sort of thing, if you're predisposed to it, by all means, check it out. If some of that stuff kind of is not your cup of tea, skip it.
So
that's where I'm at.
So speaking of Constantine or Constantine and the DC universe as a whole, there have been a lot of DC comics coming to WEBTOON.
Oh, really?
Weird.
Oh, yeah. Like not like actual comics that are already in print. Comics made specifically for WEBTOON.
Oh.
And I've been reading them. There's one. It's a slice of life one with the Bat family.
I've seen that one. I've seen that one pop up on like Instagram.
Yeah,
and
that one's
like
really
that.
good.
Yeah.
There's a Vixen one that's really good.
Oh, okay.
And they just started doing. It's called Zatanna and the Ripper. And Zatanna gets through a magical accident gets transported to London in the 1800s, right as Jack the
Ripper's around,
is doing his thing. But in a recent episode I just read, Constantine gets ripped from the
modern
present and dropped right where Zatanna is.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So I'm like, because I sat there and I wondered, like, what? Are they meant? Is the Ripper supposed to be Jack the Ripper? Is supposed to be? It's going to be both.
Oh, very interesting. I like
that. Yeah.
I like when people do stuff with some of the lesser known or lesser worked with characters.
Oh, the Bat Family one is really, really good.
Yeah,
like I love it, and it shows like once in a while you see them like, in their costumes, but it's mostly them living their lives. Like it's,
What's happening between the capers?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. Like you got Bruce and Alfred and, Damien, Jason, Dick, Tim, but also you have Signal, Spoiler, Oracle, and
everybody,
and Cassandra.
Everybody.
So like everybody's in the house.
Everybody who's been a bat person at one point or another.
And
that makes sense.
They recently did an episode, like a 2-part episode of Tim and his crush on a male friend of his.
Which is
because they very recently made it a point that Tim is either
he's bisexual. Yeah.
And it's super, super good. There was actually another episode I really liked where they dealt with Jason having PTSD
from dying and coming back to life,
from being killed by the Joker. And it's really, really good.
I've read a few of them. Like I said, they've popped up on my Instagram. People have like clipped them and put them up there.
Yeah, the Bat Family one was
the couple that I've read have been
pretty
good,
and it actually shows like Bruce having some like humanity and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's super good.
Yeah,
like I highly recommend it.
Those honestly, that's why I like comics like Justice League International from the 80s so much. Because so much of it, they're saving the day, they're fighting villains, they're doing this, that, and the other. But there's so much downtime that you actually get to see character growth
and
interactions when they're not on. I guess.
See, that's why I liked like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. There were a bunch of episodes like that,
and that's same thing, absolutely.
Like some of my favorite episodes were the ones where like there wasn't even like a lot of like crazy superhero shenanigans going on. It's like Wonder Woman flirting with Batman on a rooftop, or Hawk Girl.
Sometimes Wonder Woman gets turned into a pig,
and Batman has to sing a song to Cersei in order to.
I'm so blue.
Yeah,
that's a good episode. Yep. That's a good episode.
Speaking of DC stuff, I picked up on the Switch the Lego DC Supervillains. They're running
Supervillains.
Supervillains is the most recent Lego DC game.
Oh.
They're running a super sale right now, and between that and store credit, I was able to get it for $3.
Nice,
including all of the DLC and everything. So it was like $75 worth of game for $3.
Oh,
and the voice acting on that is insane.
Yeah,
really.
All the DC Lego games have killer voice acting.
Yeah. But like it's Mark Hamill, it's Kevin Conroy, it's
all those other actors we don't remember their names.
Yeah, what's his name? The Kurgan.
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown is Lex Luthor. It's basically the biggest highlights of the animated series voice acting. The Titans cartoon, the Young Justice cartoon voice acting.
Okay.
And the Arrowverse actors.
Ew.
They work. You know what? They work. When they're goofing on themselves and they're making fun, they work. Michael Dorn's there.
Hey, that's my boy.
They have, like, everybody. It's really, really well done. It's well acted. Tara Strong is, of course, Harley Quinn, and she does a really good job.
It's Tara Strong, man.
Yeah. What's his name? Reanimator is the Scarecrow in it.
Jeffrey Combs
is the Scarecrow, and he has a lengthy section where you are the Scarecrow, and he's like Jeffrey Combsing it up all over the place.
Of course,
it's fantastic, super good.
The Castle Freak Man himself.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so does
Beyond?
Yeah.
So does Mark Hamill like voice the Trickster and the Joker?
The Trickster, the Joker, and I think he's Solomon Grundy.
Oh.
Nice.
Which he was in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
He was?
I wonder if
he was Grundy.
I wonder if he's Swamp Thing, too.
I don't know if Swamp Thing is in the game or not. The game takes place almost exclusively with villains. The whole deal is the Justice League get captured by a new team that seem almost like the Justice League, but not quite. It's the Crime Syndicate. It's the Crime Syndicate of America from Earth 3, the villainous counterparts pretending to be heroes. And the actual DC villains are trying to solve the plot of what are these Justice League guys seem real bad. What's going on? And it's a lot of that. It's a lot of fun.
I bought it on sale when it was on Steam, like a long time ago. And it's really good. I really enjoyed it, but I lost interest about halfway through, I think.
That's kind of how I get with these Lego games. That's why I don't buy a whole lot of them. But for $3.
Yeah. I think I paid about that for it
Yeah.
also, and it's worth that.
It's worth. Oh, sure. That's really a lot of fun. Very good.
Do we want to talk Prey, the prequel to Predator?
Yeah.
Since we saw it, it was extremely good. It's a prequel to the Predator, the movie from the 80s that I have not seen.
You should. It's very good.
But I figured since this is a prequel, it's fine to go into it without having seen.
Oh, sure.
And
It
it was
was.
fine. Yeah. I know enough about the Predator from cultural osmosis that
I don't think you'd even have to know anything.
no, you
Like,
wouldn't.
No, he's an alien. There are a species of alien hunters. That's just what they do.
But this time the main character was a Comanche girl that's trying to prove that she can hunt good. Which kind of parallels with the Predator himself, which this is the first time he's come to Earth to hunt.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And you kind of see him work his way up to hunting people too, because he starts like, oh, I'm going to kill a snake, I'm going to kill a wolf, and I'm going to kill a bear, and until he's finally fighting
Kind of
humans.
working it up.
So they
yeah.
kind of parallel each other in an interesting way.
Interesting.
And it feels very authentically Native American, which is cool.
Oh, that's neat.
The action is really good and cool. Like it was fantastic.
Oh,
And
great.
this is from somebody who has no nostalgia for the franchise, hardly knew anything about it before now, and it was a fantastic action movie.
Yeah, it was just a good summer action movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, I did see that there is a Comanche dub of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes. You
Very
can
cool.
watch the whole movie dubbed in Comanche if
Oh,
you
very
so
cool.
choose.
And this kind of ties into the original Predator because one of the platoon that Schwarzenegger leads is a Native American guy, and it's the only person that is killed by the Predator that he treats with respect. So maybe it's a situation where he kind of recognizes this.
I mean,
situation.
He was also the only member of the
DK
squad
crew.
of the squad that tried to fight the Predator with a knife
That's true. Yes. Yes.
versus everyone else having a gun.
Right.
Or Jesse the Body Ventura with his Gatling gun or his minigun. I ain't got time to bleed.
I think this is one of the best examples of like, hey, when you make a story from another point of view, it can be really interesting and good.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
I saw a
I'm glad
bunch
it's
of
really good.
idiots like screaming on like the internet about how like she's like a Mary Sue and stuff like that. And,
She's not.
and
No,
I saw where other people was like, if somebody's been training for years, that means they're not a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they go out of their way to show her like getting better at doing things throughout the movie. Like there's not a universe at all where that is a cognizant argument at all.
Yeah.
Have you talked about the new season of Harley Quinn?
No, we haven't.
Ooh, I'm not sure if has there been a new episode this week? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, it's on Thursdays.
I've watched like the first 3 or 4. I don't remember the last one I watched.
I think there is only 3 or 4, so you're probably caught up.
Yeah.
It picks up right where the last season left off.
Like almost immediately.
Yeah, Harley and Ivy are a thing now, like officially.
Okay. Cool.
And you're kind of seeing Harley slide into like the same codependent relationship she had with the Joker, but now it's Harley. Now it's Poison Ivy,
Gotcha.
which is an interesting take on it. I think
Mm-hmm.
it really it explores the character in the silly, dumb like.
Well,
adult
yeah. It's
cartoon
still
that it
very.
is.
Yeah.
But it's working both sides of it, which is good, almost in a Venture Brothers kind of way, where there's humor, but there's also depth in
There's
the characters.
depth. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I'm really liking it.
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Clayface is always so good.
He's the best.
so funny.
The fact that they brought in James Gunn,
Yeah, James Gunn is in it.
like shooting.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen that scene online where
Yeah.
someone calls him out because Clayface tells him that he was the famous actor from Gilmore Girls.
Clayface becomes his director's chair.
and he flat out says, "James Gunn, sit on my face." It's so stupid.
Oh, that's
Billy
great.
Bob Thornton in there too, and
Yeah.
that was. I don't want to spoil that.
Okay.
situation.
Yeah, that one was
Very funny.
Oh man.
Harley and Ivy do an escape room with the Bat family.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a team building exercise, and it was Batgirl's idea for the Bat family to do it because they've been at like each other's throats.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and like Harley and Batgirl are talking, and they're like, "I wanted to do it like a team building exercise." She goes, "Me too."
Didn't they make Nightwing like super whiny?
No,
In the
So
series or
he's
something?
super brooding.
yeah, he's
Oh,
trying
really?
to be like Batman.
Yeah.
He's like,
Oh, really?
He's like,
Okay.
I'm your equal.
And he's Harvey. It's Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. is
Oh, yeah.
Nightwing. And
Oh, interesting. Okay.
he's killing it as usual.
Gotcha.
Oh man, it's
Cool.
just so. One of I think my favorite episodes so far is the Villies,
Yeah.
which is a villain, a Gotham villain award show.
Okay. Nice.
There's so many like background characters you can point out the whole time during the award show too.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah. I need to get caught up.
Oh,
on
that
the
Court of
show.
Owls episode one's pretty good too.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. It's
Okay.
pretty funny.
Okay. Cool. Well, hey,
I think I'm surprised they let him do some of the stuff that they do in the Court of Owls episode.
Right, right.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get.
And of
caught
course,
up on it, for
Bane
sure.
Bane is like a standout character in the whole series.
Of course.
Well, he's mad because he gave Harley, or no, he
He gave Ivy and
Ivy-
Kite Man
a pasta maker at their wedding.
for a wedding present,
It
and
didn't
they
happen, so
and they-
now he wants his
He wants
pasta maker back.
Yeah.
so he's like out for revenge because it's like it's common courtesy.
That sounds about right.
There's a scene where he's shopping at like a supervillain store that's run by Lex Luthor.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and take a break here, and when we come back, we'll get into some news.
Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Dunham, the host of Long Play here on WZMO. Long Play is a show that appeals to music lovers of all ages. Here's an example.
I love long play.
There you have it. A completely unsolicited endorsement for one of our youngest fans.
Grandpa, where's my candy?
Ellie, be cool.
Grandpa!
Ellie and I would like to invite you to tune into Long Play every Friday at 11 p.m. and Saturday at 3 p.m. right here on 104.7.
WCMO.
Hey, we're back from the break. Let's go ahead and get into some news.
First up, we got Skytown traffic on the 9s.
and now to Tim with sports.
First on the sportscast, it's Pokemon.
Pokemon,
The
yeah,
sport- the sport of kings.
We got to blast through this stuff because last week when we did this, we talked about two things during our break. We gotta roll.
And one of them was Pokemon.
One of them was Pokemon. There was a Pokemon Direct, or Pokemon Presents, I guess they call it, with a whole bunch of news for a bunch of stuff. Bunch of Pokemon Go news, the card game, the London Championships
Yeah.
that's happening, all that stuff.
Pokemon Go is part of the official
And
championships,
that's the
which
dumbest
is ridiculous.
thing. It's just a bunch of idiots tapping their phone.
Yeah.
I love it. I love Pokemon, but like Pokemon Go, but don't.
It
Come
doesn't,
on.
It doesn't have the depth to be a competitive game.
No.
It just absolutely does not.
It's all luck.
It's barely even rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Barely. Yeah. But the big news was they did a bunch of stuff for the new mainline game, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And, hey, Cody, what are your opinions on it?
It was less than ideal.
Yes, I agree with you.
I still want to play the game when it comes out. Give it a fair shake. I haven't completely hung up my Pokeballs yet. The last game, Arceus, was so good. It's like, well, I'll give him another shot.
But Sword
I'm
and Shield
feeling
was
the
kind of
exact same way.
Yeah. Sword and Shield was bad.
I'd
Not.
say it was bad. It was okay.
It was fine. It was not stellar. It was not a good first showing for a Pokemon game that is on your television.
It was bad.
Okay, all right. But
The story didn't make any sense.
Well,
and
no, the story,
it fell
but-
off like really hard at the end.
that story barely makes sense. Yeah, but anyway,
It wasn't as bad as X and Y story that had
sure.
a giant man for some reason.
yeah, the 3,000-year-old man.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about Sword and Shield.
No.
This is looks a lot like that, but different.
Yeah, so the couple of main things that they talked about is that this is an open world game, much like
supposedly.
Allegedly. But so it's taking a page from Arceus, which kind of leads me to believe that Pokemon Arceus it was the
Like beta test.
It's barely open
it's
world.
barely open world, but
Yeah.
but it was the test bed. It was the test game for
This
this
process or
actual
whatever.
game. That's why we're not getting any more stuff in Arceus. It's
Yeah.
it's like they were just testing this. It was a tech demo, essentially, big long tech demo. But
A big, long, incredibly fun, very good tech.
well, yeah, but it was a tech demo. So the couple things now, we both have things that we are not happy with. My big sticking point is for ever since the second generation of the games, all of the box art characters, the box art monsters, are the end goal. It's like a big, super powerful, kind of broken thing that you get at the end of the game to basically to say, congratulations, you played the game to completion. Here's your reward.
You can't use this in tournament play.
Basically, yeah. But it looks as though in this game, you get the box art legendary right at the very beginning. Like, first thing.
Because they're motorcycles.
Because they're also
that you
motorcycles. Yeah, they're
through the
Pokemon
open
that are also
world.
motorcycles.
The red one looks kind of like a motorcycle, but he still runs on 4 legs.
Yeah, the purple one is a light cycle from Tron. It's a Tron bike. But it kind of ruins the specialness of the box art legendary if everyone just automatically gets it right off the bat, first thing.
And it's not clear if it fights in battles or not, or you can just ride it. I don't know.
It's not clear. There was a point in the trailer in which they both stood up on their hind legs. So I imagine it's might be a situation where you get it and it doesn't trust you at first, so it is just a motorcycle. And once your friendship with it is up high enough, it'll be like, okay, I guess we can fight now.
It's like when you get a too high level Pokemon,
Yeah.
you have to have so many badges before it'll
That's
do
what I was about to
anything.
say. It would be kind of cool if they use the actual game's mechanics to
That would-
tell that story, but they won't do
They
that.
won't. It'll be some story cutscene. It'll be a scripted thing. And it's
It'll
just kind of-
discover the power of friendship.
yeah, and being sparkly.
Which
Which-
is the other thing.
Yeah.
That's their new battle gimmick now, because every game since like X and Y
X
has
and Y.
had some sort of
Gimmick,
silly battle gimmick.
Z moves.
Mega Evolutions, Gigantamaxing.
Which I think the Gigantamaxing was probably the more not controversial, but you either love it or you hate it kind of thing.
It's one of those two.
yeah, which I thought it was fine. I
thought it was okay.
Hey, it brought back chubby Pikachu.
Yeah, and
sure.
seeing Pokemon get real big and fight in a stadium where crowds are cheering was very good. That's my favorite part of Sword and Shield, is it made those battles.
The whole soccer motif thing.
Yeah, it made,
Oh,
it
yeah.
made the battles feel really amped up and
It did.
important.
Like
Yeah.
wearing like your cool uniform and stuff.
Yeah. That part of the game they were knocking it out of the park.
That's
Also-
everything else.
I also like the puzzle mechanic, or well, not the kind of puzzle mechanic, like getting to there. Like so,
it wasn't just you fight a bunch of lower level people until you get to the final boss. It's
some of them had like a thing, like a
They had a
course you had to go
thing.
through.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of the gyms in the later games.
and I
were
mean
like
they're for
that.
babies.
Yeah.
It's very simple,
Yeah.
but it was something. But this one, no, they're was it Terra something
Terrestrialized.
terrestrialized,
And they get bedazzled, basically.
Basically.
It's not cool looking.
no, they add a shiny light map to the character model.
Yeah, they
and,
get like
and get a stupid hat.
they get like a faceted gem like look to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they get like some kind of weird flower or fruit or plant made out of
Based
crystal
on
on their
what
head.
type that
They are.
they're yeah.
Yeah, and they can
Or-
switch type based on something. I don't
On
know.
something.
It's not clear.
Yeah.
It's not clear how it works, but it doesn't look cool.
No.
I don't want to use a move that makes my Pokemon look less cool. Like
It looks incredibly generic, which leads me to believe that it was done this way. They said that any Pokemon in the game can do this thing. So they had to do something that could be a filter slapped on and an extra model dropped onto like the rigging on the top of the head so that it could work with any to cut space and cut time.
And
That's what it is.
And I'm not gonna say they're being lazy about
No,
it because
they're not.
They have to deal with 900 monsters. Like you've got to do something like this.
Oh,
but
it's over 1,000 at this point.
Yeah.
Because they're adding a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's
But,
true.
Yeah.
I feel like this was more of a push to sell merchandise.
Yeah.
Hey, get all these variant action figures.
Yeah, they're crystal ponies.
Yeah.
It also kind of feels like maybe halfway through development, Game Freak came to them, to the developers, or Nintendo came to the developers
The
and said,
Pokemon Company,
whatever, and said, so what's the gimmick? And their answer was, well, it's an open world game that you can go to any gym whenever you'd like. There's no set path. And whoever said, okay, but what's the gimmick? So they slapped this thing in.
Yeah.
It was like an afterthought.
An afterthought. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
The thing about the open world thing is that there's three different stories you can follow,
and
which,
not one of them is going to be good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, you can have stories, but if your previous games were any indication, they're not going to be compelling.
Why don't they have one good story instead of three bad ones?
Yeah, they haven't been able to put together one good story since like Gold and Silver.
If that.
Yeah,
Hey, Sun and
them all
Moon.
together.
Sun and Moon.
that's true. That's
Sun
true.
and Moon had a pretty
Sun and
okay
Moon had
one.
a good, like a cool, like dimension hopping, like kind of story.
And it's very indicative that it's a good one because they're doing that in Pokemon Go right now. So it's but yeah,
I think for its time, Gold and Silver had a lot of cool set pieces that happened.
Yeah.
Like Red Gyarados in a lake, or like I'm running around with Dragon Boy Lance and we're doing stuff.
Yeah,
Like, that
I
was
agree.
cool.
That is cool. But yeah, ultimately not super excited for this one. We'll still get it, like you said.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
they're on a tight rope.
Listen, you're on thin ice, Pokemon Company. You have the highest grossing media franchise in the world, but if this game's bad, you're gonna hear about it from me, some 37-year-old guy who's not in your target demographic.
Right. That's true.
are they though?
I mean, a little
I mean, I
bit.
think they
A
have
little
to
bit.
know.
Well, yeah, they make the games with
Everyone in mind. Yeah. They make them accessible for children and competitive for the competitive scene where they make most of their money.
Well, I don't know. I still think they make most of their money out of merchandise.
Yeah,
the cards.
The
cards.
Cards,
yeah,
the
are gonna be the highest
toys,
seller.
all
Yeah.
that stuff.
I actually don't think a whole lot of the toys. I mean, they sell a fair amount of toys, but I honestly, right now, I think it's the cards, and I think a lot of that is actually Twitch.
People opening cards.
People
on Twitch.
streaming and opening cards on Twitch. I
Hoping to
see
get
a lot of that,
their foil fairy.
which apparently is branching out into the Digimon card game. There have been a lot of Twitch
There's
people.
a Digimon card game.
Of course, there's
There was a Digimon card game when we were younger. I played it. I still have cards at my dad's house.
Nice.
Digimon is just Big Lots Pokemon.
Hey.
I know the show.
true.
I know the show was better, and it is.
Yeah.
But
Like Pokemon
it
had
is.
the better game. Digimon had the better show.
Agreed.
Digimon had the weird, like, barely working game that hardly made sense.
Uh-huh. All right, let's move on to some other stuff. Let's touch on the HBO Max and Discovery
Oh,
Plus
yeah.
merger very briefly, because at this point it's like 3-week-old
Yeah,
news,
and
but it's worth talking about.
It's a big mess over there.
It really is.
Discovery, the company that owns like Shark Week and whatever else,
and the TLC network, so
Yeah.
Paint My Room and my 600-pound life or whatever.
Tear down the wall in my kitchen and make it an open concept.
Move that bus, whatever.
Ugh.
They straight up bought out Warner,
Yeah.
so they own
Which
HBO
is
Max.
wild because Warner was a huge deal.
Like an original studio.
It was, but now it's owned by people who don't really appreciate
or care.
What they have.
And with this acquisition, a lot of things that were in production have been unceremoniously dropped from production.
Or almost completed.
Things that were completed have been dropped completely.
Yeah, Batgirl was completely shot, and now it's not happening.
Yeah, apparently it needed about 20. Reports say it needed about $20 million worth of editing. Post-processing and stuff. And they decided that instead of spending the $20 million plus whatever for advertising to release it on HBO Max, they would rather eat the $90 million that they put into it as a tax write-off. We'll never see the movie.
Which means no one can ever see it because that's how tax rules work.
It's going to wink, wink, nudge, nudge, get leaked.
Oh, yeah. Like that Wonder Woman pilot.
Just like that Wonder Woman pilot or...
that one Fantastic Four movie.
The Fantastic Four movie. The Mercy Reef, the Smallville spinoff with Aquaman.
Oh, I forgot about
Everyone
that.
forgets about Mercy Reef because it wasn't very good.
Also because they called it Mercy Reef.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
That does sound like a CW teen drama, like a Seventh Heaven or something stupid.
Well,
It sounds like a younger skewing spinoff of Baywatch.
And the way they wrote the show, it was Aquaman was a lifeguard on Mercy Reef who secretly could breathe underwater. That was the show.
Swim really fast.
Yeah. And that was the show.
Shoot rings at fish.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, some of the other things they dropped a Scooby-Doo animated Scoob sequel. It was a holiday movie, but that was completed.
Yeah.
And it was dropped. They're looking at
And Scoob was entertaining enough to deserve a sequel, another go at it.
Yeah. It looks like this hasn't been made official yet, but it looks like the Titans and Doom Patrol live action series that are in their fourth. This is their fourth season, or would be their fourth season, I believe. Does not look like it's going to be renewed, despite having really good ratings.
I still haven't watched Titans. Like I want to. I do.
The Black Canary.
The Black Canary movie's probably not happening.
The spinoff from
with
the
Journey Smollett.
It's
probably not
very
happening.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the better characters in the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie that came out.
They were all good. It was
It was a very great movie. Like set pieces, costumes, everything was so good.
Yeah. But they're dropping a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not just DC comic book stuff, but that's the only ones that that have really gotten a big.
They did a huge cut on all animation and children's programming.
Yes.
That's all out the window.
Out the door.
There was an entire finished season of Little Ellen, the children's animated show about Ellen DeGeneres as a child. They 100% completed that third season, but now
it's not coming out. Yeah.
I mean, given all the things that have come out with Ellen, like in the it's
Sure.
probably for the best.
Well,
but
I'm saying divorced
still.
from Ellen because she had nothing to do with that show. Just had her name
yeah.
on it. All those animators worked real hard on that, and it's
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. But one thing that is happening is that Flash movie. Maybe. So we don't want to get into it here, but the actor who plays the Flash, Ezra Miller, they have some stuff
if
going
there's
on.
a crime you could do, they've allegedly done it at this point.
At this point, it's getting there. They're wanted for burglary in Vermont. They've started a cult in Alaska. Allegedly. All this is allegedly. Put a blanket allegedly over all of this. They've assaulted people in their home in Hawaii.
And Iceland.
So international crime. There you go. And yet, there's still the lead in this Flash movie that
they've spent a lot of money making.
A lot of money on. And
Ezra Miller's not even the best Flash Warner Brothers has.
Not even close.
I feel like you could make up a crime off the top of your head, and I would believe that they did it. That they allegedly did it.
Did you allegedly hear that Ezra Miller kicked a dog? Allegedly,
Ezra Miller stole the crown jewels of England.
Allegedly, they siphoned all the gas out of New York.
Allegedly, he lasered his name onto the moon.
So apparently, Warner Brothers have it's been leaked that they have three options. That they've given three options for this movie. They said either Ezra Miller has to have a public apology for all of the bad things, and then we'll do minimal press for the movie. They will either release the movie without them doing any press for the movie, or they'll completely scrap it.
Ship them around across some war states to do crime in? I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, if they do the minimal press out of state, does that mean that Warner Brothers is
liable
for transporting a known felon across state lines? Allegedly.
But Ezra
That's
Miller
how you-
is rich and famous.
That's how you get
so,
the FBI on your tail.
That's true. That's very true.
I've watched enough FBI files to know as soon as you cross state lines, that's when the FBI comes.
That's when they get you.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious to see what happens. And
I hope
this Flash
it
movie's not
doesn't
gonna be very
happen.
good.
I hope it doesn't happen.
No, they should just throw it in the garbage where it belongs.
Scrap it, start over, or just not do it. I mean, I love the Flash
as a character.
as a character. Maybe this movie doesn't need to exist.
I mean, they're dropping the entire Snyderverse and that entire
yeah.
version of the world they created. They're throwing all that away. So why even bother with this movie?
I agree.
It's
But
just
they're still working on Aquaman too.
that's true.
But Aquaman was maybe the only standout part of the Snyderverse that actually worked. And
Wonder Woman.
Well, Wonder Woman. But Wonder Woman happened before Justice League. No, I'm wrong.
no, it was after. No, it was before Justice League.
Yeah.
But after Batman v Superman, because Wonder
Yes.
Woman is in Batman v
Yeah.
Superman.
But she's a very different character in her own films as she
But
is in Justice League.
The Wonder Woman movies are Patty Jenkins movies. They're
That's
not
true.
Zack Snyder.
That's
And
true.
even though he produced them, it's Patty Jenkins.
It's Patty Jenkins stuff. Yeah. I saw online someone suggested that while Jason Momoa is an excellent Aquaman, it's a very much a missed opportunity to not make him Lobo, the
Yeah.
Last Zarnian.
he would
Yeah.
be a
Because
great
he-
Lobo.
Yeah.
Because he looks and acts in real life exactly
like him.
the
He
character
is the
Lobo.
main man.
He
Yeah.
is. Yes.
Just throw some biker leather on him and some white
Paint him
paint.
white.
Someone did a Photoshop. They painted him white with the kiss makeup around his eyes, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, that would be rad if they did
Yeah.
a Lobo
Right?
movie.
Right?
That would be an amazing HBO Max series.
It really would, but
They could
they're
bring-
not going to do that
they could-
because they're canceling
Yeah,
everything.
they could bring his daughter in that they had in comics.
Oh,
recently.
Crush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a good show.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I never thought of.
Right?
Wow.
What-
Yeah.
as like kind of a half sitcom about this edgelord 90s
A space
hero
biker.
who has to be a dad now.
Yeah.
Like-
That would be great. It would be really great.
Yeah, but then like Marvel would probably or Disney would probably come in and say they're trying to eat Thor's lunch.
All right, so the other bit of news, we can fly through these relatively quickly, but over the weekend, EVO, the big yearly fighting tournament that takes place in Las Vegas,
fighting game tournament.
fighting game tournament. No, it's not. It's not just it's not a kumite.
Because they do have fighting tournaments, real ones in
They
Vegas
do
as well.
but no, this is a fighting game tournament, and they a lot of companies like to announce a lot of their new upcoming characters or changes to their games because it's basically San Diego Comic-Con but a fighting tournament.
for games where you punch people.
Basically. And the big news that it was that a lot of games, I've talked about this before, I'll try to get into it very briefly, but there is something called rollback netcode. It's basically a way for players to connect to each other online that creates a more seamless way of playing. A lot of games have it. A lot of the big games didn't. A lot of the major games are getting rollback netcode, which means we're going to have you'll be able to play online without the game stuttering and falling apart and
Or you just getting,
Yeah.
creamed because
because
of bad
someone's
internet.
bad internet. Yeah.
I wonder how much that is actually the thing that fixes it, or that's just like a phrase they're using.
Oh no, it's the thing that fixes it because a lot of games have delay-based netcode, which works great in Japan, where everyone is on essentially the same network and it's very, very fast. But when you get into games overseas or within other countries where the internet is not quite as strong, delay-based netcode. Well, U.S. Well, Mexico. KOF is King of Fighters is humongous.
Really?
In Mexico and Brazil. Oh, absolutely.
Well, you know what, you say Brazil, and that makes sense for all the different characters that do like capoeira and stuff in
Yes.
Street Fighter,
Oh, it's huge down that way.
or not Street Fighter, King of Fighters.
King of Fighters. But yeah, it's a lot of it comes down to it basically opens up a different packet lead so that it can constantly send extra data along with. So if there is a hiccup in your internet, you don't see it on your screen. It's a seamless fight, essentially. Other than that, there are a lot of characters announced. We could rattle them off, but unless you're into fighting games, a lot
You're not
of
gonna
the
know
stuff is
who
just
they
going to sound
people
like
are.
it's going to sound like names. I could tell you that Street Fighter 6 is getting Kimberly and Jury. We know who that is.
You mean the Power Ranger?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, but this character looks cool. Kimberly, she's a new character, and she is essentially a hip-hop street ninja who uses spray paint as ninja teleport and ninja bombs. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's very flashy. One of the bigger things is SNK, the company, is going back to the
Fatal Fury
franchise, the 2D fighters.
Which they haven't had a Fatal Fury in
who knows how long? Well,
at least 20 years?
Garo Mark of the Wolves.
Yeah.
And this looked like it is essentially Garo 2. People loved Garo Mark of the Wolves. It was a time jump for many of the characters. You had Old Man Terry and Rock Howard, and
now he's going to be even older.
He's going to be even old. I hope so. I hope he is like white-haired, living on the street, Terry Bogard. Why not?
Bedridden.
Get the wild wolf in there, man.
You know, my first ever like exposure to Fatal Fury was an anime movie that I caught on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Which one? There were a couple, and they weren't very good.
It's the one where they're looking for like the
armor of God.
The armor.
Yeah,
like it was like this golden armor.
You want to find the one with Krauser. It's the better one. Wolfgang Krauser. But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff.
Those Fatal Fury animes put a lot of people through puberty.
That's very true.
Well, my
Shiranui did a very many things for very many people. But moving on,
but not in Smash Brothers.
Not in Smash Brothers. No.
Smash Brothers is for good little boys and girls.
I feel like a lot of that's getting cut.
No, that's not getting cut.
Oh man,
yeah. No, we're in the back half of the show. It's Wild West out here. Guilty Gear Strive announced that they sold 1 million copies, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a smaller company like Arc System and a niche game like Guilty Gear, 1 million copies is really, really good.
It had a lot of streamer push behind it. I saw a lot of people playing it when it came out.
Yeah.
Which is probably why it sold so many copies.
Even like HoloLive talents were playing it.
It's a fantastic game, and the music is...
Yeah, the music was... We watched that new trailer.
We watched the trailer with the new music video. It is 90% butt rock, and it's great.
That sounded like Dragula. Sounds like Rob Zombie's Dragula.
Yeah, and the fun thing is, all the music is composed and produced by the creator of the game, Daisuke. He is a prog rock metal guitarist.
It's a very Crush 40 situation.
Very much. And it's fantastic. I mean, there was some other stuff, like Skullgirls is getting a couple more characters, which that game...
Holy, really?
I didn't know people...
That game is like 12 or 14 years old.
I remember, no, it's even older than that.
But it was one of the first with rollback netcode. That's why it was an Evo last year when everything was... When they did Evo not in person, they did it social distancing online. So they had to find a bunch of games that had really good internet connectivity. And Skullgirls, this 14, 15-year-old game...
Skullgirls came out when I still worked for GameStop.
Yeah.
And that is pre-2006.
I can't believe they haven't done a sequel yet.
There are so many characters in the game, it might have... And they've changed the mechanics from when it first came out so much that it might as well be a second game. Instead of doing a sequel, they've just added to it.
Yeah, they just keep changing it.
Like I said, two more characters.
It's not a good way to make money.
But
hey, maybe it's not about the money.
For these folks, it's not especially. I mean, they're getting a stipend essentially from the company that owns them. It's not the main guy who created Skullgirls because he turned
out to be a dirtbag.
He is kind of a dirtbag, but 90% of his animation crew went and formed their own company, and the people who own Skullgirls basically said, "Okay, here, we'll give you the license. Keep going," and they have.
I haven't looked into them's fighting herds in a while.
It also has rollback netcode. I have heard it's
back when that was a thing.
It has the stigma of being cutesy animal things and people and fighting game people in the fighting game community.
That's for girls.
Do that, but the people who play it has a very small dedicated fan base.
I played it when it went, I think, version 1 came out.
Oh,
and
when it changed from My Little Pony to
when it was a commercial product.
oh, okay,
right,
okay.
but it was
I kickstarted it actually.
yeah. I remember that. I remember you playing a bit of it.
It was a really solid fighting game. It just felt like it wasn't done yet.
Yeah.
and I don't know if
It's
is
closer.
there yet. Yeah,
It's closer. It's not quite there yet, but it's closer. And like I said, it has a very small but dedicated fan base.
and the character designs are very good. I mean,
Well,
Lauren Faust did.
Lauren
that.
Faust
yeah,
did them.
yeah.
Yeah,
She like felt bad for the people for them getting like cease and desisted by the company who actually owns My Little Pony, Hasbro,
Yeah.
and then being like, you know what? Here, I'll draw some new
I'll
characters.
Make a
for
bunch
you."
of characters for you.
Which is a better thing in the end because then they can profit off of
They
the
can
game.
own, they
Exactly,
can own their stuff
exactly.
100%. As much as I love fan games, if you were to make a fan game and then just change the sprites just enough to make them legally distinct so you can own it yourself, why not?
I don't know why more fan game people don't do that.
Right.
Well, I guess you don't see as many fan games anymore because
Because of the cease and desist, especially
Yeah.
with Nintendo
Do you
being as
remember-
litigious as they
Do you
are.
remember Mugen?
yes.
Dude, I watch Salty Bet all the time. Mugen is great. Salty Bet is an online
I
stream.
haven't watched Salty Bet in so long.
Oh, it's so great. So it's Mugen is the make your own fighter.
Yeah, where
And-
it has like everybody who when you're sitting when you were sitting in school and you're like, hey, who would win in a fight between like Optimus Prime
And Ronald McDonald.
and Ronald McDonald? That's Mugen.
Yeah, and it is two AI competing characters streamed 24/7 on Twitch that you can bet fake channel point dollars on.
Huh.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. I love Salty Bet. You just pop it on. It's good music. They play a bunch of royalty free music in the background, and they just go at it. It's
I love
great.
when you get some like obscure anime character and like
Anime characters that have an idle animation that's too fast, or ones that have zero idle animation. Those are the broken ones, and those are the ones you bet on, because more times than not, they are so broken and programmed so poorly that they win 100% of the time. All right, with that, we have actually hit time, so let's go ahead and wrap things up for the week. You have been listening to Nerd Overload. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can find us each and every day over at nerdoverload.com.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon at Nerd Overload now.
You can email us at staff@nerdoverload.com.
you can give us a call on the Nerd Overload hotline. That number's 586-372-8020. Leave us a message and we might play it on the show. Your prompt this week for emails and messages: if we've ever recommended something and you actually went and tried it, let us know how that went.
Yeah.
Even if you liked it or didn't like it, I'm curious to know.
Yeah, tell us if you didn't like, if we suggested something and you didn't like it. I would, very interested.
I'm curious to know what kind of influence we may or may not have.
You can also find all of our back episodes on various podcast apps such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and more. And finally, I'd like to thank David Pencil for the use of our intro and outro. You can find more of his stuff over at davidpencil.com. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week.
Bust a wolf.